Here we go. So I had an idea. I like a podcast called the Jar Media Podcast. I ate everything. His brother and one of their good friends, but it's yeah, it's just like long running, and I've always liked it. They changed their formula, or lack of formula, right? Changed it a lot, but one of the segments that I miss was when they would talk about, oh, like what have you been playing, what have you been watching, what have you been, doing. I think it's sort of like a good benchmark thing because obviously their podcast is like once a week. So just kind of like a roundup or of everything that they've been consuming, I guess, right? Um, but yeah, I like that idea a lot. So I thought, you know what, why don't I do that? At least once a month. And since we're still in the beginning of November, I feel like it'd be good to do a catch up of October. So I guess the format for these types of videos will just be, at the start of each month, I'll go over the previous month, just things that I probably missed out on talking about. And I mean, last month is a bit weird just because it was very movie focused, for the October thing I was doing. And there's a few movies here and there, like non horror related, that I watched. Some of them are horror related, but, just ones that I didn't talk about specifically. So it'd be good to catch up on that. So, it's going to be movies, a bit of TV, music, especially. And people don't really care about it. Or, I'm not going to say people don't care about it, but I know there's like a split, right, between people who like really care about games and stuff and then people who don't, obviously. So I think I'll do the game thing as like a separate video. So this one's just going to be focused on like movies, TV, music. Um, and then if I can figure out how to do the time codes, I think that'd be useful just to kind of like divvy it up. So if you don't really care about movies, then you can just like skip that, go straight to TV, and vice versa, vice versa. Um, but I guess I'll start with movies again. Like for October, I just watched a bunch of horror stuff, so y'all know about that, or I know about that stuff. But there's a few here and there that I watched in between, just for my own leisure. I got caught up on, or not caught up. I just rewatched a bunch of John Carpenter movies. I mean, again, it was October, so fitting, right? But yeah, I watched Mouth of Madness. I watched The Thing, and They Live. I feel like there's one more John Carpenter I watched, but those are the main three. And I feel like I sort of referenced all three of them sort of throughout the month as well. So, it kind of makes sense. Recency bias and all. Let me do that. There we go. That's a bit better. More personal. But yeah, so a bit of recency bias. But man, obviously The Thing, right? Everybody knows The Thing. So good. And I obviously blushed about it here and there throughout the month. So I won't go too into it. But, of course, just really enjoyed it. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's just good, right? But also just like kind of a vibe, and that's sort of my favorite thing about it personally. They Live, again, not necessarily horror. I guess the concept is horrifying, right? And that concept is just really good too. Like, oh, like what if the alien invasion already happened and they've just like assimilated into our life, and our life is sort of like the consequences of these like alien like coming down to earth and just like controlling us. It's very interesting, very cool, just sort of like sci-fi movie, sci-fi concept. And then of course you got Keith David again. Keith David's awesome in the movie, and even the lead is really funny too. He's got some really funny lines. He's got that kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger sort of charisma, right? He just like says these like little quippy things every now and then. And again, like I don't know too much about him, if he was like an actor before, or just like a actor at the time, right? Or if he was like a wrestler and like they just sort of brought him in because he sort of has that that stature to him, right? He knows how to put on a performance. And then with Mouth of Madness, this is one that I've just rewatched so many times. It's so interesting to me. Again, just like super like bizarre kind of like meta concept. The thing I kind of related to sometimes is like adaptation, the movie Adaptation with Nicolas Cage. But that's sort of about the character writing an adaptation of a book that's about flowers, and that's what the movie's about. In this, I mean, in a similar way, the movie's called In the Mouth of Madness, and it's about what do you call him? I guess like a private investigator type, right? Like he tries to like pick out scams and like people like doing insurance fraud stuff. But the movie's called In the Mouth of Madness, and he's investigating the disappearance of the writer of the book In the Mouth of Madness within the story. But obviously, the story that's being written in the Mouth of Madness is basically the movie that we're watching. Uh, More or less. I feel like I might have fumbled the explanation, but it's sort of like meta in that weird way. There's also like a funny line here and there where it's like, oh well, like it's gonna be a movie, but that movie's cool, man. Lots of just like great like smaller themes as well. One of the main things, obviously, is like popularity turning into belief, I guess. And the thing it's compared to is like the Bible, right? The Bible is like so like widely known, and people just believe in it. They have that belief in it, and the belief makes it real, to people. And that's sort of what the author of the book In the Mouth of Madness like talks about from time to time. And his name is like Sutter Kane, so maybe like small spin off Stephen King. But yeah, but that's something that Sutter Kane talks about. He's like, well, like my book has sold like billions of copies and it's been like translated in so many languages. Like, how is it less real than like the Bible, for example? So kind of cool in that way. And I mean, his point comes across, but then there's also like the kind of like Lovecraftian twist. Like there's these like chaos entities sort of behind it that are like giving the words more power and like corrupting people. So very cool, very very cool. And then also like the smaller theme about like insanity, right? It's like you switch the sane and the insane. As of now, because like the world is like normal, we see insane people as insane. But I mean, if there were more insane people, then the sane ones would be the insane. You know what I mean? Just like I guess like difference in like mindset, right? And like the people in power kind of dictate what's normal. But yeah, super cool. But yeah, love those all three of them. And then I wonder how that kind of comes out in the recording. Me pausing. I have to talk to my brother for a minute. But yeah, just a few more movies. Watch Brightburn. Sort of like super late in the month. All right, honestly. I'll be honest. I didn't really think too much about it. Cool visual every now and then, no doubt. Concept okay. It was nice to see all these like James Gunn regulars. Like even though he was just the EP and somebody else directed, like he still like had like all his like people in there. So that was kind of funny to see. Everybody but Nathan Fillion, I think, pretty much. Yeah, but Brightburn, I'm like kind of like just like middle ground. And then the most important thing is Tron, right? Watch Tron. Truth be told, got a little drunk before I went to the theater and watched it, and I think I took a nap. Like a maybe 15-minute nap like towards the last like hour or so. So there's a chunk I missed, and I think it's whenever he goes to the grid, like the original grid. Yeah, and I mean even then, like that's one that I want to rewatch anyways. I've seen classic Tron, I've seen like Legacy, both of them like a handful of times, but they're movies that you can just kind of rewatch and take a nap during. No. Now, they're movies that you can kind of rewatch because like they have these sort of like solid like sci-fi concepts to them. They're very cool in that way. And then obviously just like the world, right? The world is very cool, of course. The world of Tron, or like the grid. But yeah, so that one's like in need of a rewatch, obviously, because I fucked up on my end. But yeah, just wanted to shout it out because I watched it. But yeah, so for TV now. Peacemaker was a big one. Rewatched the first season because the second season wrapped up. And yeah, good. Yeah, good. Just like solid show, solid. Very funny, obviously. Very, it's kind of cool. I like the James Gunn thing. People, there's a lot of like kind of controversy around him just because it's like, oh, he does the same thing all the time. You know what I mean? And I can see that. There's a lot of directors who have like their shtick, you know what I mean? But I like the James Gunn thing. I like how he usually takes these like kind of outcast characters and like makes them like so human, right? There's like a lot of heart to the stuff he writes and directs. In Guardians, for example, like 2 and 3 specifically, those are like crazy good just for like character stuff. And Peacemaker's no different, right? And I mean, especially with like the Suicide Squad, just like making a new group of like Suicide Squad members a bit more like personable, I guess. And then with Peacemaker specifically, kind of taking that to its nth degree. But yeah, very good show, very enjoyable. A few just like spots of like sentimentality I really like. I like oh, okay. It's a part kind of like midway through the season because they put the dad in jail, and Adrian's like trying to go in to kill him. And that whole like setup is pretty funny, honestly, and then everything that kind of follows it. But it's funny because Hardcore, she's like very direct, and like she doesn't really like take any shit. So she kind of calls out Adrian initially for like what he is. Like, well, he's a psychopath. Like he just kills people. And, like that's all there is to him. But it's funny because I mean, whenever like Adrian like messes up his like assassination attempt, he gets out, and like Hardcore is the one that comes to pick him up, and it's like a really small moment too. But Adrian finally shows like a type of like vulnerability and like responsibility for his actions, and it's interesting because obviously he isn't like that. Like he is a little, something, but at his core, he is sort of thinking about things and how they affect others. It's interesting. Obviously, like him specifically, like cares about his friends and shit. And I like that moment too. Again, it's like softer, and like Hardcore, like dawns like a softer look to her, and she kind of sees like past the surface a little bit. And I thought that was a nice moment. Another one too I really like is at the end. It's sort of played for jokes, but kind of like dissecting Economist's character a little bit, because obviously the running joke with him is the dye beard, right? But when it's finally confronted at the very end, it's sort of sad, really, or bittersweet maybe. Like he's trying to like infiltrate the barn as like one of the butterflies, and one of the butterflies like asks him, it's like, oh, why did the like person you took over like do that with his beard? Like why did he dye his beard? So like kind of instant comedy. But whenever Economist starts like dissecting it, he's like, well, I wanted to look younger. I wanted to like myself more, but obviously nobody really noticed, so I started letting myself go even more. And since I did, like nobody really paid attention still, until and like he's basically referring to Peacemaker. He's like, yeah, until I met this guy, and he just like picked on me for picked on me about it like all the time. And I feel like that's where like the bittersweet notion kind of comes in, because he feels sort of like lonely, or like kind of neglected, and just not very seen, right? And then the one guy who does like sort of see him just like like fucks with him the whole time, which just kind of shows that somebody's paying attention though, right? I mean, even still, like, sure, it's like it's not necessarily nice that like Peacemaker like picks on him, and then Peacemaker has his own reasons, obviously, right? It's like just sort of a like projection thing, like pushing people away because he wants to connect. But he does that to Economist's character, and like Economist kind of realizes that, but sort of like the surface level aspect of it, just that, yeah, like he notices me, but he like fucks with me all the time, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, whatever. But I guess like the ironic twist to it is like it just shows that Peacemaker actually cares for him. But yeah, just those two moments specifically, I really enjoyed. And then obviously throughout the whole show, just like really good humor, really good action, or just fun action, right? A bit over the top, crazy, but yeah, good nonetheless. Another TV show, pretty short one, Smiling Friends. I followed a lot of those Newground guys for a long time, so it's finally cool to like see them like come up in the mainstream a lot more. With like Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack. Both of them very funny in their own right. And I was always more familiar with Zach just because of the stuff on like Oni Plays, or just like some of his animations. I always thought that like his idea of like what humor is very funny, or can be very funny. Sometimes it is like a bit like out there, but and then also just like very smart, right? Very smart guy. When it comes to like animation and just sort of like thoughts about things. And then same with Michael Cusack, again, just like really knowledgeable about like animation, and he has like such a good perspective. And then of course he's from Australia, right? Australia. And so I've seen some of his stuff like Bushworld, YOLO, Twisted Fantasy, yeah, Our Crystal Destiny, right? But yeah, and like they kind of have like a similar humor style. But I feel like a lot of the time with Michael's, it's like meant to be a bit more wholesome, Zach's is like usually a bit more outrageous, but I mean, you combine those things and like it makes for just like good comedy. And, of course, like in the show, all the characters are really funny. But with seasons four specifically, it's nice because season one came out, and like since I had known about it ahead of time, I was kind of like a bit like trepidatious to like tell people about it, just because I was like, I don't know, because like the humor style is so weird, and I don't think they'd really get it. But I mean, it clicks with a lot of people, and I like that. I like that for them. Um, and then season two came out, and it's like, man, this is like better than season one in like every way. It's like way funnier. The animation is like way crazier. Just like doing different techniques, right? And then just like the scenarios and all that, right? Really funny, and like focusing on different characters. Um, and then with season three, I mean, again, same thing, right? It just like ups the ante even more, and it's so good, very funny. I mean, there's only 4 episodes out right now, but all of them are really, really good. Uh, yeah, just like solid show, very funny. Um, Another one, Chair Company. Tim Robinson, again, like big Tim Robinson fan. He kind of has like a style of comedy that I really like. But this has been good so far because obviously he had Friendship come out. I guess the previous year now, right, or earlier this year. But yeah, Friendship. I mean, just kind of taking like aspects of his show. I think you should leave, and just like translating that into a movie, because like there are like moments that are just sort of like skits essentially, and that's kind of how this TV show is so far. There is more of a plot that's kind of interesting, or like funny. It's like very simple. It's like he's doing a presentation, and he's about to like sit in a chair because like he finishes the presentation just fine. And when I was watching that scene, I'm like, man, something bad's gonna happen to him when he's like giving this presentation. And then it goes through, and he does like really good at it. He messes up at like one small bit, I think, but he recovers really fast and like gets it done. And I was like, oh, okay, just like subverting my expectations, right? But then it like re-subverts them and kind of validates them by having something bad happen immediately afterwards. But yeah, he sits in a chair, and it's kind of like the chair breaks, and it's like an embarrassing moment for him because he's like in front of like all his like work colleagues. So that's the setup, and then he's just investigating like what's wrong with this chair, right? And it just like kind of goes deeper and deeper. Very funny concept, and there's been like a lot of just like really funny bits so far. One of the standouts in the latest episode, again, it's just like a I think you should leave skit, but or the two bits specifically, but he meets up with this guy called Mike, and Mike is like a security guard, and he's like helping out Tim Robinson sort of investigate what's going on. But there's a part where they're driving in Mike's car, and like Mike is like listening to his like music, or just like some like talk show, something, man. But it's just people just saying like obscene shit, like back to back, like arguing with each other. It's like super awkward, and obviously Tim Robinson is just there doing his little look. Very funny little bit, and then obviously Mike is trying to like justify like why he listens to it. He's like, well, it's funny, man. Hey, listen to this bit, and then it's like the stupidest shit you ever heard, but then Mike starts laughing. So that's like a I think you should leave sort of moment. And then same with the again with Mike, but he hires like another guy to like watch Tim Robinson, like just in case anything goes bad. And then the guy that he got watching him was like really drunk when he's like on the stakeout, so he's just like acting a fool basically. That's pretty funny as well. He's like knocking shit over. But no, funny show so far, and I can't wait to see where it goes. And then another one, I always like to have a sitcom kind of going in the background sometimes. It's just for like early morning like viewing. If I'm like eating something, it's nice. Or kind of late at night, it's like I can't sleep, and that kind of like late night sitcom aesthetic like kind of helps me. But yeah, I've been watching Martin. Not too far in. I think I'm like 9 episodes into it, and it's funny because they just did like a Halloween episode, so that was kind of cool. But no, very very funny. I like Martin Lawrence, so like it's been cool just like seeing his show because I'd never seen him before. But yeah, very funny. Again, just like everybody on the show is like such a character, right? You got Tommy, Cole, Gina, Pam, kind of like as your main cast, and then like a few like side characters that Martin Lawrence also portrays. Very funny. But at its core, I kind of like it. It's that thing, especially in like adult animation stuff, where you always have like the husband and the wife, and I mean in this case it's like a Martin and Gina, so like boyfriend and girlfriend, but you have the partner and the usually the man is like the lead protagonist, right? and then you have their supporting partner. And I like that dynamic. And it's usually the fact that like the main guy is like a bit inept in some ways. I mean, with Martin specifically, he's just like a bit childish, immature, um, and like doesn't like always really have like the right opinion on how to deal with things. And then Gina's the one that kind of like supports him still, but like sets him straight, right? And I think that's good. It's like a really good dynamic. I think of something like King of the Hill, maybe, right, with Hank and Peggy. Like the wife, or like Peggy keeps Hank grounded, right? Whenever Hank's doing something like a bit like out there, or like maybe he kind of has like the wrong approach to something, Peggy's the one who like sets him straight, and Hank like learns the lesson typically. And then kind of the same thing here with Gina and Martin. So yeah, great dynamic, and usually makes for a lot of good comedy. And then of course, again, just like characters all around. Tommy, Cole, Martin's friends, very funny dudes. And then even Pam has like really funny lines every now and then. But yeah, moving on to music. I had a few recommendations actually. The main two just being SZA and Kehlani. With SZA specifically, it's weird. I started off with Control. Is that the name of the album? I'm forgetting off the top of my head now. I think it is just called Control, right? But that one, it's weird. I'd said I'd never really listened to SZA, but obviously I'm only familiar with her like through features, like mainly with Kendrick Lamar, and then also other like people in TDE, like J Rock, Easy Bake, right? Um, but yeah, so familiar with SZA, but never her like discography specifically. So I listened to that first one, and it just had a lot of songs that like, I already knew. What is it, like Broken Clocks? I think is what it's called. Doves in the Wind with Kendrick Lamar, and like a handful of others. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, it was like a really good album, just like really solid. So I listened all the way through, and then I moved on to SOS because that's one of her newer releases, and I listened to that one just like I like rinsed it at work. Really enjoyable. Lots of like really good bits in there. Me specifically, I like FTF. It's sort of different because I mean with SZA, obviously she has like a really beautiful voice, and it's like kind of more suited to like R&B, but she can rap, she can like do it all basically. But in this one specifically, it's more of like a soft rock sound. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know like an artist to like really pin it to, but I feel like if you listen to the song, it's a bit different than what you would expect. But it's a nice difference, right? It's like kind of breaks it up a bit. And there's a few songs in there that I kind of like that. You have these more like kind of bombastic tracks. I think specifically like SOS, which is the opener, and Kill Bill. You know what I mean? And SOS specifically, like it is more rapping. And in it, I like that one specifically. Again, as the opener, right? But it introduces like the themes of the album so well. And like SZA's character a bit, right? I think like initially she's like very like braggadocious about some of the stuff. I like some of the lyrics. He's like, what is it, man? Oh, I'm horny like suck these, and she has like a few of them that are like super, just like kind of braggy, right? Like she's, like top shit, and she kind of is, right? So like it's a bit granted, but at the same time, it almost seems like cope a bit because I feel like a lot of this does kind of deal with like minor insecurities with like maybe like emotional maturity, and sexual frustration, um, in like a few tracks. I feel like there's like select tracks that kind of really like delve into those things, but of course it's like a balance, right? You have these more kind of like braggy tracks, and these more like sentimental ones. So very good. And then obviously like Kill Bill as well, just like back to back, just like strong opener. But then another personal favorite is the track Conceited. My favorite lyric in it being, I have all I need and still want more. Again, like super simple, but very relatable, and very, I guess, like on point for some of the stuff that SZA talks about a lot. I feel like with that specifically, it's more so talking about like relationships, love specifically, right? She has these things in her life like lovers, but she wants more of that like attention, or just like that real love, right? Again, I might be completely off on this, but this is just sort of like what I've been picking apart listening to it. And then also listen to the deluxe Lana version of the album, and I like that too. Again, just like adding more tracks and then sort of playing the original like SOS tracks like a bit out of order. So that's kind of cool, just to kind of hear like a new like arrangement of the album that I was already kind of familiar with. But then obviously the highlight for me was 30 for 30. Kendrick Lamar, come on now. But yeah, that track rocks. Very like fun and upbeat, but that's how a lot of the like kind of like bonus tracks are on this deluxe version. A lot of them like are a bit more kind of like I was gonna say hyper, but you know, just like more like hyped up, more like pop. So very cool. And then Kehlani, what is it? I forgot the name of the album off the top of my head. It isn't over till it's over, something like that. Yeah, sorry, I'm just blanking on it. It's weird. Like I have everything else written down, but I didn't have the title written down, so that's on me. But yeah, specifically on that album, really like Serial Lover and the Lexi outro. Again, just like super solid all the way through, but those two tracks specifically just kind of like stick out of my mind. Serial Lover, to me, it's a bit more poppier, and I like that. And then with the Lexi outro, uh, you know, I'm forgetting now if you know it's a like featured artist on the track. Like I don't know if it shows it, but whoever's on it rapping, very good. Kind of gives me like a bit of like a Joey Badass type of vibe. You know, with the flow and all of that. But yeah, solid track, like that a lot. And then the main thing I was listening to from her is the single "Folded" and like the variations of it, specifically "Unfolded." I like "Folded" as a single. I like the way it starts, especially these like nice like softer strings that come in, and then obviously like Kehlani herself, she has a very good voice. Um, but then with "Unfolded," it's a bit different, you know. More of like her like raw voice comes through, and you know, to me, there's like a bit of, I don't know, maybe I'm completely off in this, but sort of like a desperation for this person's like love and affection. And you know, it comes out a bit more in the unfolded version compared to folded. Folded, it does just seem more of like a kind of like R&B, like you know, little sexy, you know, song about love. But yeah, just like this unfolded version really grabbed me in a different way. So very good, the both from SZA and Kehlani. And I mean, it kind of fits, like they're like sort of like in the same vein, right? And then just more music. I wanted to talk about just some like constant stuff, because you know there's always that, you know, the artists or like the songs in your like playlists, right? Like the ones that you just, you know, keep listening to over and over again. And obviously mentioned him a bit, but Kendrick Lamar. I'm just like always like picking through his discography. So you know, like on my playlist, like it's just a bunch of like Kendrick songs that I really like. But this month specifically, I just been listening to Overly Dedicated, like just like rinsing the album. Uh, Man, just like so many like really good tracks on that. Uh, I'm not gonna get into like, you know, the specific ones that I really like, but honestly, it is pretty much like all of them. But the one that I've been like rinsing specifically is the "She Needs Me" remix at the very end of the album. Uh, Man, that song fucking rocks. Love that song a lot. Uh, Again, just like the flow, like the vibe of like the whole track, very, you know, very cool, very chill. I mean, like I'll just like come outside, like have a drink, and just kind of listen to that. You know, just to like wind down or whatever. It's a good track. Another artist, Haru Nemuri. It's funny. I went to go see her last year in October when she came to Texas, and that was a very fun show. Kind of small, but you know, she was playing mainly the stuff from like Insane, and then a few from like different albums. A lot of them I was like familiar with, but what is it? What's the other album? Rengoku Se, something like that. My Japanese isn't very good. But there's a few select tracks on that album that she played at the concert. So I just like went back and re-listened to that album and sort of like picked out the ones that she played, because they're very good, very upbeat. And then obviously with like Insane, uh, honestly just like solid. I mean, it's an EP, so it's probably a bit easier to just like get like really solid songs, but I think it's like 5-6 tracks. um, and yeah, all of them are good, like Destruction Sisters, Inferno, uh, Sanctuary, or you know, Escape from Sanctuary. um, what's another one I really, or Flee from Sanctuary, right? uh, but yeah, just like solid all the way through. I love pretty much every single track on that. Even like the closer, because it's like so like sporadic and crazy. No pain, no gain is like bullshit, I think is what it's called. But yeah, very, very, very cool. And I just like her in general, like her whole like kind of like punk rocker sort of like vibe, right? It's very cool for that, and just like mixes of like pop and stuff. But yeah, very good. I like How to Nominate. And then of course, I mentioned Tron. One of the big takeaways from that movie, from the stuff I was watching, is just good music, right? You got Nine Inch Nails on it, and I've always liked Nine Inch Nails, not specifically for their music, but for their work on like soundtrack stuff. I mean, I've also been like rinsing it too, but love the soundtrack from Bones and All. So many really good ones, and that one's a bit different compared to some of their other, like musical scores that they've like composed. I think like Challengers, another like Luca Guadagnino. That one's a bit more like energetic, but Bones and All, it's super soft and very sentimental, and I like that. I like whenever Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross will like do that for certain tracks. These like softer tracks, ambient tracks. Because I think as well for the Mutant Mayhem soundtrack, the Ninja Turtle movie, the newer animated one, but they do the score on that as well. And one of my favorites is I'm blanking on it. I should have written it down. Uh, what is it? All we ever need is each other, or like everything will be all right. Something under those lines. Uh, but it's like a super just like soft like kind of piano track, very calming, soothing. But it's played in the scene where Splinter takes all the turtles like whenever their babies like up to the surface and they're just looking around New York, and it kind of fits that, just like capturing this like beauty of the city, and like their like amazement with like how new it is to them, and they obviously just like the flashing lights because they're kids. But yeah, very very good. And obviously with like Tron specifically, they do like a really good job. And then this is like a weird thing, like comparison is the thief of joy. If you're gonna compare this to like the Daft Punk stuff, and I mean I love Daft Punk, don't get me wrong, man, but these are two different artists doing two different things with a similar world. um, so like listen to this Nine Inch Nails one like on its own and solid, right? Lots of good ones to pick out. Me specifically really like Echoes, and I really like Do You Want to Live Forever. uh, might have butchered the name, but something under those lines. But yeah, two really solid tracks. Again, like Do You Want to Live Forever? That one I like specifically because it's like softer. Same with Echoes, a bit softer. And there's a few tracks here and there that are super soft. And then obviously the more like hype beast type ones. I mean, like In It, and what is it? Like the main kind of like title track. I forget what it's called now, but that one's super hype. But yeah, so good. Shout out Nine Inch Nails for that, or just Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross for like all the work they do on soundtrack stuff. Because I just eat it up. Probably just need to dive through that Nine Inch Nails discography. Um, but yeah, more artists that I'm just listening to. Dean Blunt, specifically Lucre, with Elias Rottencroft, something like that. But yeah, I guess just like Dean Blunt doing the instrumental side, and then this Elias guy doing the vocals. Very good matchup. Very good matchup. And every single track, I mean, like pretty easy listen to. It's like 40 minutes or something like that, so pretty quick. So check that out. It's like 7 or 8 tracks, but specific favorites, 5. Love the fifth track. Fifth track is so cool. Sort of haunting in a weird way. Uh, yeah, I don't know how to describe it. That one like literally is a complete vibe because it has these like weird undertones where it's like sort of sad, but more like a nostalgic feeling. You're trying to remember something, or an experience, a relationship, or that's how it makes me feel at least. And then with the lyrics as well, on top of it, and that instrumental, the instrumental fucking rocks for that one. Another artist I like a lot is Yule. Uh, Kind of in the same lines as a Grimes, maybe kind of this like ethereal pop sort of aesthetic. But I like Yule a lot. I've been listening to her, um, for like a while now. And I've liked a majority of the projects she's put out. The way she like releases things, or the way they release things is a bit weird. Um, but whenever there is like a proper album, it's very good. And then this newer one is called Soft Scars. Honestly, just like good listen through, and again, like not that long either. Like a lot of tracks, but a lot of them end up being like maybe 2 minutes or so. But I mean, just the opener, Soft Scars, personal favorites. I think it's called Blood Bunny. There's another one called Man, it's weird. I thought I was more familiar with the album than I was, but just those two specifically. But I think it's like the last like 3 to 4 tracks. All of those are really really good. Just like personal favorites on the album. I think one of them is also called Inferno as well. Um, but yeah, but I mean like the opener, like the first 2 tracks, very very good. I like them a lot. And there's some like pieces in the middle that are a bit different as well. There's one that sounds more like a ballad, maybe, just like a proper piano, and like that's it, and some soft singing. Uh, but yeah, just solid album. I love it a lot. And then just gonna shout out a few artists that I've been listening to with like no specific like songs specifically, no specific songs specifically. Um, yeah, but K Flay, the first project from them. Yeah, just some good ones. Can't Sleep specifically, and Everyone I Know. Everyone I Know is the opener, and Can't Sleep is like a popular one. And then also Make Me Fade. Just like 3 of my favorites from them. But yeah, very good, very good. I like them a lot. Again, just like sort of like vibe music, just like kind of get with it. Deb Never. It's weird. She was an artist I was really familiar with. Um, and, they're an artist I was really familiar with for a time back then. But then just recently, because in Skate, the new Skate game, she has one of her tracks in the game, 5 o'clock. Very good track, and it got me back into listening to her. So very happy about that, because there's a bunch of just like gems that she has. So I've just been listening to those. And then just like 2 specific songs I want to shout out: "Father and Son" by Cat Stevens. This one is just from like I only know it because of the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 at the very end, right? And it's such a nice song, soft song, very beautiful, and the vocals around it are very good. Um, and then Canic Chase by Lobby Slashery. Sorry if I butchered his name. Um, but yeah, again, like sort of reminds me of the band America, right? The song sounds the song sounds like freedom. It sounds like just kind of like being in an open field, like going around and feeling like the air around you. It's beautiful in that way. But yeah, the track's called Canic Chase again. And then obviously the vocals on it, instrumentals on it, like that guitar sound, so beautiful. And the way he like carries his voice, of course. And like even the lyrics, right? I feel like there's like a bit to pick out here and there. Yeah. But I guess that's it, right? That kind of wraps up, or this segment. I might do the game thing, but I don't know. Like the games I play are pretty consistent. I would like to explore a bit more. But if that one comes out, it'll come out like right after this, pretty much. But yeah, this is it. Just again, like movies, TV, music. Just getting like the big ones out of the way, and this would probably just end up being like the longest video I've put out so far, which no complaints, honestly, because I had a lot of fun talking about this and sharing this. And in reality, I love, obviously, like I love just like listening to things, watching things, consuming, I guess, right? But I like it even more to hear when other people talk about their favorite things. I ask a lot of friends sometimes for like recommendations, and sometimes like they are pretty upfront with them, but I feel like recommending is a bit weird, because you obviously never want to recommend something you don't think the person would like. But in my opinion, that's kind of like wasted time and like wasted connection almost, especially with music, right? I feel like people are kind of cagey with the music they listen to, so if they recommend anything, it's like something that's already kind of popular. I feel like me specifically, the things I've recommended, I mean, sure, they're a bit popular. I'd say like Hard and Emery, Dean Blunt, and Yule, but still, not that widely known, or at least in my friend group, probably, right? Like a lot of them don't really listen to like Japanese, like rock and roll. This like softer music of like Dean Blunt, more like hip hop focused. I'm pretty sure they could really get along with it, but I would need to like push them towards it, right? And then with Yule, just because the sound is a bit different, I don't know if they'd really like it. A lot of my friends kind of just like rock and roll, or one group of them likes more like rock and roll, classic rock stuff, and a few things here and there. More like classic hip hop from I say classic, but like hip hop from like mid late 90s to like mid early 2000s, like that kind of era of hip hop. Um, and like a few like newer things here and there, like Thundercat and whatnot. And then another friend who like is more into like pop and like rap, uh, but not the kind of pop and rap that I really like. More like commercial pop and rap, which again, like nothing wrong with it. And like occasionally, like they'll surprise me with some good recommendations from like artists that are like sort of popular. But again, I don't really delve too much into that. Or I guess just like artists that are getting like a lot of traction, right? Um, but yeah, so I mean, some of these things, it's like I'll still talk about it and bring them up. You know what I mean? But uh, yeah, just like sometimes I wish I could get like some of those recommendations back because I do like looking for the smaller artists, like the sort of weirder ones. Oh, well, actually, one more thing about the music. Another artist I want to shout out again because this is a smaller artist. I don't know if a lot of people know of them. A band called Really From, but their project, it's like a self-titled album. So the band Really From and the album Really From, very very fucking good. Jazz influenced and sort of like math rock type stuff going on. But man, the uh, the woman on the vocals very good. She's pretty like predominant, and then same with the man on it as well. Both of them just like sound great, and whenever they're like on the same track together, it's perfect, man. And then again with like the jazz stuff, very cool, and these smaller like rock motifs. Uh, very, very amazing as well. But yeah, so that's another thing I wanted to shout out because like that's like a smaller thing. I don't think a lot of people have really heard of. And man, if I can push them or like push that project specifically, it sucks though, man. They don't make music no more, or at least I don't think. Uh, but yeah, but yeah. Again, just like those smaller recommendations, right? I love the smaller artists. I love like finding like these new sounds, and oddly enough, TikTok is really good for that, right? Just like people like promoting their music and with like how technically good the algorithm is for actually giving you stuff you like or think you'll like. Uh, yeah, like you can just find a ton of like great artists on there. Um, but yeah, so I guess like closing this off, right? If anybody like watches all the way through, like recommend stuff, movies, TV, uh, music, especially, right? Just anything, like, or if you just want to like vent, right? Go ahead and vent, because that's basically what I did right here. I just vented for 40 minutes. Yeah, but and then we can talk about it. I'd love to just like listen to like anything or watch anything. Again, just because like we have the time, right? Might as well, or like whenever I'm like in my leisure, or again, I'm like kind of fortunate with my job. I can just listen to music all the time, so just down to listen to whatever. Always trying to like just like learn new things, hear new things, discover new sounds, right? And obviously sometimes it gets not, I wouldn't say boring because like obviously I like a lot of the music I listen to, but you know what I mean. Sometimes it's like, man, I'm just looking for that new sound, looking for the new thing to be obsessed with. I don't know. Or that's kind of how I operate sometimes. And obviously these are just the what you call it, the consistence of at least the month of October. But yeah, that's about it. I'll leave y'all to it. Take care.